Good afternoon, this is Pat Walker, Emission Winners, doing a video overview of the ETFs. There's a reason we look at the ETFs. It's a very, very quick, efficient, effective way to see where there is strength in various sectors to make money and areas to avoid to save money. So let's go through and take a look. This is the template that I developed years ago, weekly on the left, daily on the right. 50-day simple, 21 exponential, 8-period exponential. That's it. Clean and simple. And this is a very important focus that we always have at Mission Winners. Good bases and trends pay. And note the trend on the daily and note the trend on the weekly. Just trending. That's nice to see. This one owns tech stocks. What does it tell us and what has it told us for a while? Hey, technology is a good place to be. You don't need to overthink it. That's what it is. Look for some technology stocks. Do we own some technology stocks? That's easy for me to say. Yes. Yes, we do. Let's continue onwards here. Gold miners. What does this tell us? It tells us there's nothing good going on with gold miners. Leave it alone. Do a compare and contrast. Oh, that's going up. That looks pretty good. That's not doing anything. I'm leaving it alone. Gold, that's really, now this one lifted up. The gold miners are lagging, but gold picked up. Look at that. And look at the weekly and look at the daily. That's something to take into consideration for a potential buy. Now, what's the risk in this? All right. It took a tremendous amount of power for it to get up to this point, right? Look at the price move on that bar. A lot of energy was used here. So what's the best thing this could do? It'd be nice if this could base for several days and form a little handle. Just something to consider here. It would be a risky buy here, a riskier buy here. Just passing that on to you. Let's continue onwards. And again, this is what we teach in Mission Winners. Biotechnology, lift it up. It's basing right here. What's the negative here? Oh, by the way, I'm not negative, okay? There's a great quote. It's not mine, but I love this quote. I never met a wealthy pessimist. We're always looking and we're seeing what's the opportunity here. Is there an opportunity here? Well, it lifted up on heavy volume, fairly heavy volume, but then it fell on very heavy volume. Be careful with that, okay? And always be a little cautious with biotechnologies in any way, shape, or form. Continue onwards. Oil and gas is slowly lifting up. You can see it on the daily, but then you look at the weekly and you say, there's some overhead supply there. Also notice when it lifted off, there wasn't a lot of volume power there. Be cautious with that. Continue onwards. And again, this guides us to where to go to look deeper. Software technology, this ETF, that's kind of, fell on a heavy volume. Not a lot of power there in relation to software. But we'll continue onwards because we may see other software. This is why we have an ETF list. It helps us make better investing decisions. Medicine, it's kind of hanging in there. It's a nice trend, just a nice trend. Maybe looking at some medical stocks. This one I have to correct. Let's see if we can. If not, I'll get into the system offline and fix this. Yep, no, we can't do anything with this, so I can't tell. Let's move on. There's another midcap ETF. So aerospace and defense is hanging in and it's trending nicely. Maybe looking at some aerospace defense stocks. Also notice, up on heavy volume, down on less volume, up on a pickup in volume. Forming a little pennant here. Aerospace and defense, maybe an area to look into. Home construction, nice move here. Yeah, we've been involved with home construction and it's, we were before, it's lifting up again. It tells us, hey, that's an area to look into. Now, here's an important lesson. People say, interest rates are rising and that's going to hurt the housing market. Therefore, we're going to avoid it. That's an opinion. The final arbiter for decision making is the chart, price and volume. What's the chart telling you? Well, home construction stocks look like an opportunity. There you go. Charts talk. It's our job to listen with an open mind and objectively. There we go. So I'm not saying buy it here because it's a little bit extended in price, but there's a valuable lesson in what I just shared. Growth, got a bad chart here. I'm going to edit the low on this chart real quick, just so we can see it a little bit better for right now. There we go. S&P 500 growth. What does this tell you? Oh, I guess we should buy. We guess we should be involved with growth. And at Mission Winners, we are. It's been telling us we own some stocks that we have owned for a long time that are working. Growth related. So that's where that's at. Let's continue onwards. It's a little bit extended here, okay? But it does say there's strength in the growth sector. And that's why we do this. Continue onwards. Small cap. Now do a compare and contrast. Well, this is really grinding up nicely. This is just starting to take off. Small caps have lagged. This is the Russell 2000, but it has a nice base right here, and maybe it'll lift off too, which will tell us what? That the rally's spreading out. Let's continue onwards here. Real estate, it's picking up a little bit, but it's lagging, okay? Right in here. So be careful with that. Continue onwards. Transportation's hanging in there. It says, you know, that's not a bad place to be. Midcap hitting highs for the move. That's nice to see. You could look into some midcap stocks. Oil services is still underperforming. Look at the compare and contrast on the weekly. Oh, this thing's going up here. It looks pretty darn good to me. Yeah, this really doesn't do too much of anything. There it goes. It says be careful with oil services. That's good to know. Continue onwards. Pharmaceuticals are hanging in. You can look at pharmaceuticals. By the way, have you noticed the theme here? You can say, gosh, there's pretty many groups that look good. Yes, and they have looked good for a while. And that is why we've been, you know, involved with some stuff. Let's continue onwards. Stocks, I should say. QLD, clean and simple tops right here. It lifted off right in here, and it's working. There was entry down lower also. What does this tell us? NASDAQ 100 stocks, MAXLIST stocks. They're working. They have been working. Get in line with it. QQQ, same thing as QLD. Retailing, the consumer spending money. That's good to see. Silver, look at the compare and contrast. Oh, look at retailing going up on the weekly and the daily. Oh, look at silver. It's tarnished. There's some dad humor for you. There's not much going on there. Leave it alone. All right. Steel, lagging, not a lot of power there. SMH, technology related. And look at what it's doing on the weekly, and look at what it's doing on the daily. And what has it told us for a while? Way back here. Way back here. It was saying, way back here. It was saying, hey, you might want to take a look at some semiconductor stocks. There you go. Continue onwards. Spiders, really nothing great with spiders. Leave it alone. Nothing to do with it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong chart in another system. This is telling us that it's trending nicely. Let it work. Let it work. This is a very important point too. This is the 50-day simple. This is the 21-day exponential. And this is the 8-period exponential. And trends pay. There you go. Simply get in line with trends. Another very important lesson for everybody. If you noticed, I don't have any oscillators on here. And I'm going to show you an example on why. I'm going to put stochastics on here. This is something I've never done with anybody before, but I'll do it. And you can look and you can say, back here. And I'll slide this over. Okay. Stochastics looks pretty high here, but there is a base. Oh gosh, look, it went up. Look at, but boy, it's overbought. That's overbought. I don't think I can do that. I mean, this. Look at that. That's up there. That's up there. I got to leave that alone. Yeah, it's up pretty high. I think I'm going to leave it alone. Oh, look, it's even. No, I can't do it. All right. And so you don't buy. And you miss all this. Okay? That's why I don't put, if you do, go ahead. I don't, and I've done a lot of work on that, by the way. This isn't just off the top of my head. There's years of study in it. But if it works for you, fine. I just like simplicity as far as good entry and riding a trend. And what's the trend on this? And I read this years ago too. You want to know what the trend is if you're not sure? Take a picture of the chart, tape it to the wall on the other side of your office or room, go to the other side and take a look at it. That's your trend. And we just get in line with it at Mission Winners. And that helps us. Let's continue onward. SSO, same situation. I'm going to do something here for you too. This is another important lesson. I taught on the university level, so I love lessons. If you scrunch it up too tight, you can't see the nuances of the bars. Have it spread out a little bit so you can see it better. There you go. What's it doing? It's trending. Nice to see. The spiders, the leverage. Solar's lagging. Compare and contrast. Oh, that's going up in price. It ain't doing nothing. Ignore the solar stocks. Leave them alone for now. Done. Okay. Small cap's picking up a little bit, but it's still kind of lagging. Be careful with that. Oil's picked up a little bit, but it's a little choppy and not a lot of power on the weekly either. Okay. Continue onwards. By the way, what I do here, this is what I do a couple of times a day. And now consumer discretion, he's been acting okay. Maybe looking at consumer discretionary stocks. Continue onward. Aerospace and defense is acting decent. You can punch up XAR and find out their top 5 holdings. Maybe there's something good there. It is a little choppy up here, so be careful with that. All right? Continue onward. XBI, biotechnologies hanging in. That's good. What does all this tell us? The rally is relatively broad. It's not narrow. It's not like one sector's leading. Home builders leading. There you go. Looking at some home building stocks. And you could have a while ago. Okay? And by the way, on this run, we owned a lot of home building stocks. There you go. Continue onwards. How do you build homes with materials? That's what this is. Connecting the dots. There we go. It's a little bit extended, but it's working. Communication services hanging in there. Technology, I like the base. Maybe look into some. Energy hanging in on the daily, but a lot of overhead on the weekly. Okay, something to be aware of. So if this does break out and go, just go a little smaller because there's a lot of overhead supply. It's not that hard. Just always measuring risk and acting accordingly. Financials are acting decent. You can see it on the daily. Look at the weekly. It's really nice. When financials are moving strong, that's normally good for the market. That's a pretty good investing maxim, folks. I'll say it again, when financials are moving strong, that's normally a pretty good reason to be involved in the markets. Let's continue onwards. We're about done here. Industrials are working nicely. Shows the rally's fairly strong. Technology was basing and started to lift off. And we own a lot of technology stocks. And they've been working for a long time. Leading groups, they work. Consumer staples is hanging in. Healthcare's hanging in. Consumer discretionary is acting decent. Pretty good. Metals and mining is lagging. Look at that. Oh, I better look into something in there and could have a couple of weeks ago. There's really nothing powerful here. Leave it alone. Oil, kind of grinding up, but a ton of overhead supply. Be careful with that. Retailing. Let's see here. The consumer's doing okay? Yeah, and they're buying retailing stocks too. And that's good to know. Continue onwards. Software is lagging here a little bit. Choppy. It's a little choppy in here. Got to be careful with that. But note the weekly. It's a steady trend. So you look at both the weekly and daily. And always focus on this. And this is for everybody. Focus on clean and simple base entry. It's the best setup to make money. Over and over. It's a fact, okay? And yes, and I was an IBD meetup co-leader. I taught this stuff, okay? It works, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. And then we go to the IBD 50. Got a little sloppy here, and it's improved. There you go. So now let's take a look at the stocks. Apple, again, MAXLIST stock. How does this look to you? I don't think you're going to see this in any chart book saying, oh, this is a stock you want to buy right now. It's not. Now, it may turn and we'll be ready, but for right now, it's underperforming the market. Stick with leaders. Remember this. This is an investing maxim I taught for years. Strength begets strength. Focus on strength, where it is. Continue onwards. Amazon. You can see this base across here on the daily, and it's working. All right. This is owned, and it's been trending for a while. This is owned here, but there's also buys down here too. All right. And it's just been trending nicely, very nicely. And we'll let it work. We'll see where it goes. This is why I like to look at the dailies, but also the weeklies and say, oh yeah, that is nice. Continue onwards. Alibaba's nothing. I mean, compare and contrast. Amazon, well, it's kind of going up on the weekly right here. On the weekly, well, it's kind of going up. Well, this ain't doing nothing. Move on. There's nothing to do with it. Just go to the next one. There are two important assets in the market. Financial assets, okay, and time. We don't waste time. Admission winners, we're looking for the best of the best. And if it's not there, just move on. BIDU, nothing. Leave it alone. Google, really nothing down right now, is there? I mean, I just showed you a couple indices that are hitting highs. This is hitting lows for this move. Eventually, it will change. But right now, it's not. And here's another very good investing maxim for you. The air is better above a rising 50-day. Remember that. Focus on strength. Focus on strength. There's none right now. It could turn, but right now it's not there. Move on. Goldman Sachs, there's some tops across here, and I want to show you something. This is why I like weeklies. It started to lift off and then faded off. And I pointed this out, and these are the videos that I make in Mission Winners. And this is a great lesson for everybody. This is great education. Look right here. Oh, it runs up, closes okay. Oh, look, it runs up and then it drops. Oh, look, it runs up and it drops. Oh, look, it runs up and it drops. Oh, look at this. This is when it's breaking out and it drops. Right here. Oh, it starts to lift off and closes near the lows. Runs up and it drops. I'm not being negative and I'm not trying to be cute and funny. I call these tail bars. This is what I used to call them at the IBD meetups. They're tail bars. They're just kind of sticking out there. Runs up and gives it back. What does that tell us? There's a seller up there. You can see it on the weekly. You can see it on the daily. There's are sellers, okay? And that's not some kind of a conspiracy theory. It's just cold, hard reality. You can see it in the chart. Don't argue with it. Eventually, it'll probably take out those tops and we'll be ready. But until then, we just have to wait. And again, it's meeting distribution here. There's distribution on this bar. Look at where it closed on this bar. Look at where it closed on this bar. Now this bar closed fine and then it gaps down big. Look at where it closes in this bar in the bottom third of its range. And the same on this bar. And the same on this bar. And this bar. This bar was a good bar, but then on this bar, it gaps up and closes in the bottom half of its range. There's a good lesson for you, right there. So is there anything to really do with it? No, but we'll see if it starts to take out these tops. If it does, we'll be ready. Until then, distribution rules. Until there's nothing there, move on. And by the way, when I do that, I'm not trying to be cute and funny. I'm just saying there's no power here. Leave it alone. There's nothing to do with it. It was great back here. We owned this, but right now, nothing. Let's move on. MasterCard's starting, grinding up here. There was an entry right here, but there's a lot of fits and starts. And I mean, look, right here. Oh, and then it gaps down. It's not real clean and simple here. There's not a clearly defined safe entry where you could buy it and control risk. Not a lot to do with it, so I'd be careful with it. Move on with Meta. Here's the weekly. Base, base, and note the trend. Here's the daily. Base, base, and note that trend. And yes, this is owned. It was bought here, and it was bought here, and it's working. It is working. And what do? And this is a very important lesson for everybody. Good entry and trends pay. Let the stock trend. If you look closely, right here it closed just at the ADMA, right there on that bar. Other than that, this stock, and right here, right at the ADMA, this stock has not closed decisively below the ADMA for the entire move. The entire move. I type this a lot. Trends pay. I'm not kidding. This was on the key list for buy, and it's owned right back here. And please note this. They all don't do this. Okay, I'm not laying that out, but it sure is nice when they do. Let it trend. Where's it going to go? I don't know. But I do know limit losses, don't limit profits. Let's sell some into strength, but let it work. Let it work. Selling all of it too early, you've defeated your purpose of maximizing profits. There we go. Let's move on. We're about done here. Microsoft, I like this on the daily. I like this base that's forming here. And this is a MAXLIST stock. These are all MAXLIST stocks. And this might work. See this little weekly right here? Right here? This was bought here too. There we go. Continue onwards. Netflix is working. Base here on the daily. There's a level down here that it was bought. And it's still working. And it's bought. We'll see what it does. Okay? MAXLIST stock. I'm not saying buy it here though. It's a bit extended. NVDA. Here's the weekly. I made videos on this. You can go back in our library at Mission Winners. I made videos on this before it broke out. This is the weekly chart. Look at that. Is that just a thing of beauty, folks? I love that. You can say, yeah, that's pretty good. All the way over to here. I'll continue the line for you. In fact, I'll clean this one off. And again, folks, simple basis. It doesn't need to be fancy. Notice also, I don't have any technical indicators on my charts. Now, if you do and they're working for you, that's fine, okay? But I have found the best indicators are price and volume. Clean and simple base. It took through that top, It did it on a big pickup in volume right here. Here's a lesson for you. On this bar, in the consolidation, it did volume of 41.5 million shares. When it broke out, it did 64.2 million shares. 50% more increase in volume. People talk with their mouths and vote with their pocketbooks, and they voted. And it's working. Another very important lesson for all of you. Notice how these bars are really tight. I did that so you could see the chart. This will help you. Don't have your bars scrunched up so tight that you can't see the nuances of the chart, okay? Spread it out to a level that it's easier for you to see, again, the nuances in the chart. You don't have to make it too big, okay? Find what fits you and stick with it. I like mine like right around here. And that works fine. Also, a black background with these colors is higher resolution, which is easier on your eyes. All the things we think about and that I've done that I did long before Mission Winners, and it works. Let's continue onward, shall we? Here we go, Tesla. Now, Tesla has a little base right here, but note, tremendous amount of overhead supply on the daily, tremendous of overhead supply on the weekly. It's going to be tough, but you can see a base right here that's forming, and I'll draw it for you to help you. There you go. What's it need to do? It needs to take out that line. By the way, if you've noticed, folks, you can't catch me in a lie. I already have the alert set. But please note, it's below the falling 50-day. There's a tremendous amount of overhead supply. Every time it goes up, it'll be met with sellers. Be careful with it. If you buy it, this is not a clean and simple flat base up high, okay? If you buy it, just be careful. And then Visa had a base right here, another base here, but it's got a little loose here, okay? You've got to be careful with that. It's a little choppy. There's no really clean and simple entry here, and it fell on fairly heavy volume here. And if you look, there's some red volume distribution bars there too.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.